This is a video for plugin nerds like me. Do you need most of these? Probably not, but there's also some really cool plugins in here that you may or may not have heard of, and maybe a few of those are right for you. I'd still recommend the last Black Friday video for most people. Big thank you to everybody who used the links in the description last video. It really helps keep this channel alive, and I really do appreciate it. Again, all the plugins are linked below if you want to support this channel, and nobody has paid me to say anything. Let's start with free plugins in case your bank account hates you right now. Tau Chorus LX, it's the chorus from the iconic Juno 106. It's really good for making pads and synth sounds a little bit more lush, a little bit more thick. It also has a very innovative feature, volume knob. Native Instruments also has a synth with about 25 years of sounds in it. If you're looking for a free synth, I think this is the best free synth. Transient Designers. Transient Designers are something that I don't think gets enough credit. They can help you dial in a sound quicker than compression. You can automate them to build tension, and you can adjust the sustain of them to change the feel of a drum groove. Disclosure actually gave a great example of that in a recent video. There's 3 levels of transient shapers. There's single band, multi-band, and also advanced. If you have Ableton, Ableton's drum bus is a great place to start. If you do want a transient shaper with a bit more features, this is one that Jonas Aiden I know really likes because it sounds natural. Native Instruments also has a transient shaper at the same price, but with less features. It was just around first, which is why I think a lot of people use that one. If you want something more advanced, Neutron 3 by Isotope is probably the way to go. You can control the attack and sustain of the lows, mids, and highs separately. The simple ones are good to adjust the sound quickly. This is more of a problem-solving tool. I wouldn't pay $80 for it alone, but it's included in this holiday platinum bundle, which has Ozone and a bunch of others. So if you already got that, you're set. Then we also have the advanced transient shapers, which are split EQ and also OEQ sound spiff. Those are 2 options to be aware of that can solve problems pretty precisely, but I've been using Neutron Advanced for a while now, and yeah, I'm happy with it. Everybody wants to know how to make the tracks loud, so let's talk a little bit about limiters. If you're not mastering your own music, a lot of these limiters are very similar, so really you'd be fine with any of them. But it's nice to have one limiter to get a good idea of what your track will sound like once it's been mastered, or to help you get a similar loudness to commercial releases so that you can then test your tracks out in clubs. A lot of these limiters are very similar and they excel at different things. The Pro L2 I feel like is good for tracks with a really long sustained sub bass. DMG Limitless I think is really good for house kicks and not losing your kick if you try to maximize loudness. The Ozone limiter, I really like what it does to kicks. It just has a different sound than the Limitless one. Again, if you're thinking about that one, you might want to consider the bundle. So Elevate is a newer limiter, and I'm really impressed with it so far. I need to test it more, but it seems like it's the best at getting the mids right up front and not losing them. And it might be best for the loudness. It might be best for loudness. It's a good limiter. The one problem I have with it though is you can't control oversampling. Apparently it does do it internally, but for mastering, I would want to know and to choose the level of oversampling. For budget limiters, or if you want to work with a limiter on your master with the lowest possible latency and want to make sure like when you hit a note on the keyboard, there's no delay, this is a really good option. It doesn't sound as good as the more expensive limiters, but I think this is the best budget option. I'll play you a super quick blast of these limiters as well. It's going to be super over the top just so you can hear the differences when you're pushing it really hard. Clippers. A lot of your favorite mastering engineers are taking their expensive converters and they're clipping them to achieve loudness. There's no reason that you can't do the same thing in the box. For single band clippers, saturate is a good option. You can't control oversampling, unfortunately, but I love the UI and it definitely sounds good. If you did pick up the Elevate limiter, this actually comes free as part of that bundle, so you don't need to buy it again. Standard clip is very similar, except you have better control over oversampling if you're clipping your masters, for example. If you want multi-band clipping, you can use this plugin called K-Clip. Honestly, all good options. Do you want the best UI? Do you want oversampling, or do you want multi-band clipping? That's pretty much your decision. Delays. Waves H delay is a classic. It just adds character to sounds in a really nice way. It has a bunch of good presets as well. Outer Space by AudioThing is also great. It's a clone of the Roland tape echo. I feel like everybody knows the sound of this one, but they might not recognize it's this unit. If I play this dub example for you, you'll know what I mean instantly.
All bona fide certified article sound wide.
You hear that grit and character. It's just a really nice sound. Echo Boy and also Echo Boy Jr. I'm pretty sure their space option right here is a clone of the Space Echo, and you get a bunch of other delay units that you can switch between, which is really nice. What I like about Echo Boy is you can adjust the groove and the feel, meaning you can adjust the timing more precisely than I've seen on any other delay, which can be fun. Actually, most of the time I just use Echo Boy Jr. because I like that I can quickly toggle between these different delay types and just instantly get the feel of like, oh, this one sounds better. If I were to get one, I would definitely get one of the Echo Boy plugins. And then if you're looking at those, the Sound Toys effect track just becomes such a good deal. Reverbs. So there's a few reverbs here and they're all good at different things. Of all the reverbs I've tried, I feel like this one doesn't fight with the vocals. Like it really lets the vocals pop out of the mix. And apparently Joe Ciccarelli, who's a really great engineer, thinks the same thing. So Valhalla verbs are never on sale as far as I understand. The UI is really good. They sound good. I feel like they fit in the mix really well, like they don't take up too much space.
If it wants to sim, it's cause you miss me. If it wants to sim, it's cause you miss me. If it wants to sim, it's cause you miss me.
Little Plate is also a great sounding plate reverb based on the EMT 140 plate. And if you want a little bit more metallic reverb, this is a good option. It's one of the plugins not included with the full Sound Toys effect track. The black hole reverb, the name describes it perfectly. The idea is you send a sound into this and you create this endless black hole of a reverb. This is great for those moments where you want a huge impact sound, like if you're transitioning from a chorus to a breakdown and you just want that like For most of you, you'd probably be best off with SP 2016 for vocals or Valhalla for the best all around. Vocal tools. Some of these are for fixing your sound and some of these are for enhancing them. Vocal Synth 2, what sold me on this was the Ian Kirkpatrick video. It kind of sounds like a vocoder mixed with a talk box. At $200, it's way overpriced on its own. But if you are interested in the other Isotope products, this plugin is included in Isotope's biggest bundle, which includes almost everything. It's like
in the rain, yeah. Blood in my veins, yeah. All over my face, yeah.
Waves also has a similar vocal resynthesizer. Then if you want to repair sounds, RX9 allows you to do things you can't do with any other tool. For example, you can highlight like little sections that have problems and then apply different types of fixes to them depending on the problem. So I'd say this is an interesting tool to know about rather than a buy this now kind of thing. And if you got the Holiday Platinum bundle, you get the limited version of RX, which is a good place to start. Harmony Engine is a automatic harmony generator. I still think it sounds better if you actually record individual harmonies, but if you're using like a splice vocal or something, this can be a way to add harmonies really quickly. And this just has a really cool kind of sound to it. And then I know I mentioned it last video, but Oxford Inflator sounds really great on vocals.
If it wants to sim, it's cause you miss me. If it wants to sim, it's cause you miss me.
Monosynths and Moog emulations, the lower octaves and the sub frequencies is never close to as good as analog, but you can still get some really cool, thick mids and highs out of it. This Model 72 by Softtube is good. I feel like it's a little bit dirtier than this next one, the Monarch. This one's a little bit cleaner. I think if you picked up one of the other Native Instruments bundles, you might already have this. Or if you picked up the V collection from Arturia already, that comes with a Moog Voyager emulation. If you do want that classic Moog sound, it's nice to have one of these tools. Another cool classic mono synth is the 303. It's a very specific sound, but if you like it, it's fun to have one of these in the box. Referencing tools and audio analysis tools. I think of all these tools as something to offer your ears a second opinion. The reason I like using all of these is because you can listen to your chosen reference tracks and quickly toggle between them, which helps reset your ears. And then you can listen back to your song to hear, oh, my highs are definitely too harsh, or to hear that your vocal level is way off or something. There's two main referencing tools and they're both very similar. They both let you load in 12 references. They both let you compare your loudness levels. They both let you compare stereo width. They both let you automatically gain match your track to the level of your references. If you want to get one to always have on screen, I would recommend this one because you can shrink it down to a smaller window. Yeah, this code should be valid for another day. So if you want to save money, get the other one. If you want to save time, I would recommend getting this one because you can level match all your reference tracks at once. Whereas with this guy, you have to manually gain match each reference, and that takes about 2 minutes every time you do that. So another way to get a second opinion is by using Ozone 9's Master Assistant. You take this plugin, you put it on the master, you run Master Assistant, and then it spits out suggestions of the effects that it thinks you need. For example, dynamic EQ and EQ. Often I find I'll miss certain resonant areas in my mix, or my tonal balance might be a little bit different than what Ozone thinks. And it's cool to compare my vision for the track to Ozone's vision and decide what should win. What you now see on Ozone was 100% suggested by Ozone, and I'm gonna check and see if I like the equalizer setting more, and I'm gonna check and see if I like the dynamic EQ setting more. There's another tool that can help you check for problems you might not hear because of your listening environment. You can get Sound ID just for headphones, or you can get one for headphones and speakers. It takes the EQ curve of the system that you're listening through. It applies a new EQ curve with the idea that the combination of those things gives you an actually flat listening environment. And then you put this on your master. So in theory, what you're listening to is a flat mix. Personally, I don't use this one, but I know a lot of people that like it. Yet another cool analysis option is using Pro Q3. You can take any external spectrum and you can overlay it over your current instrument. So for instance, you could overlay the kick with the bass or a vocal with a synth. So here I have Pro Q3 loaded up on my kick and my bass. And what I'm gonna do is take the input from the kick by going to external spectrum, selecting the kick, and now you can see that they're clashing around 40 hertz. Bit crushers. This SP950 is cool because it's an emulation of the classic SP sound. It just has a very distinct character to it. So RC20 actually has a bit crusher built in, which is cool. And again, the best part is you have the flux mode, which is like a slow LFO. So it can add a little bit more randomness to sounds. Very cool. Decimort 2 by D16. This has a lot of emulations of old school analog hardware. Yeah, you can really get a lot of character and grit out of this one. Unique plugins. First up, fluid pitch. It allows you to have your pitch bend to certain notes within a scale. So you can do monophonic or polyphonic pitch bends, and you can choose the scale and you can choose the scale degree. So you can pitch bend a note from the first to a fifth, or you can pitch bend a chord from a first to a fifth. I haven't seen anything else like this. Cool plugin, especially if you're a keyboard player. We also have Endless Smile by Life. This is a 1-knot buildup plugin with a few different preset buildups. It's simple, but it works. Shaper Box. This is the big brother of Volume Shaper, which we talked about last video. You can basically loop any of these things. For instance, every beat, you can have time follow a certain rhythm, you can have drive follow a certain rhythm, filter follow a certain rhythm. If you're stuck and you feel like your sound could use a little bit more life, you can load this up and just play around, and sometimes you come up with something cool. If you want to support the channel, make sure to use the links in the description. It really helps. And if you have any plugin questions, let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer as much as I can. See you soon.